Hello, everyone, to today's session. I'm your host, Steve, and we'll be giving it a couple more minutes for everyone to join in. So, in the meantime, please feel free to get yourself a cup of tea or coffee or water or anything. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes' time. Just giving it one more minute. All right, I think we can start the session. So welcome everyone to today's session where we'll be covering the fund filter within FE Analytics as well as other underutilized reports. I'm your host, Steve, today. And as always, put any questions you have into the chat. One of my colleagues will be there answering the questions within the chat, and we'll also have time to answer them at the end of the session. And as always, this session will be recorded and posted online. So if you want to ever revisit it, please visit our YouTube page afterwards. But so let me just start off today's session. So as mentioned, we'll be covering the fund filter, specifically how to analyze them, use it, and how, as well on funds as well as the new MPS universe. And we'll also be covering a few of the other reports and charts within FE Analytics that aren't as covered as frequently as it should be, and we'll also be covering the best use cases of them. So again, this is today's agenda. And for some reason, want to move. There we go. So before I just start, I just want to mention that we do have quite a large number of fund managers, banks, brokers, platforms within FE Analytics. So if there's ever any expansion or in addition that you would like to see within FE Analytics, please mention it to us. We'll reach out to all of our various partners and we'll try and bring in all of those improvements or additions into which you can see in terms of additional data funds platforms being added in. Most recently, we've added in more platforms within our advisor asset functionality. And we'll also be, as you can see here, we are also working on further integrating our various tools, which you will be hearing more of in future sessions. Some of the integrations will be seen in the forms of our Nexus AI. So this is a new AI feature we have that will talk to both FE Analytics and Cashcock, as well as your back office system. So if that's something that interests you, or you want to have a demo on it, please message us. One of our associates will be able to reach out to you and give you a full demo of that tool. But without further ado, I'll be going into today's session. I'll be going in as soon as I can find our screen. Here we go. Apologies for the technical issues. I will just have to reshare my screen. There we go. Here we have FE Analytics. So there's a couple of things I want to start off with before we go into the actual session, and that's if you go onto the left here, we have a number of training and guides here. which will link you to our YouTube page, as well as our PDF guides and our training sessions. The training sessions will come with a CFT certificate as well, and a general certificate of attendance, which you can add to your LinkedIn page if you wish to do so. And everything I will be covered here will also be covered in those various guides and videos. But anyways, here we have FE Analytics. So the first feature I'll be showing you is this fun filter here. So this is a filter on essentially our entire fund database. And you can use this in various different ways. Um, so if you're doing ground up fund research, you can use this. So let me unbox these. We can go and pick a type of fund universe. So the universe is essentially just how we group the funds, whether it's what they are, i.e. UTNOICs, or where we're getting the data from, i.e. LSE equities, which will be coming from the London Stock Exchange Group, or whether it's from a specific region. I'll be sticking with the retail UTNOICs, which in a moment you can see has around 2,358 funds in it. So naturally, that's all of the funds that we wouldn't really want to manually go through. Oh, I can see that it's not sharing the screen. It's just, why is this? Sorry, there we go. Sorry, sorry again for the technical difficulties. Here we have the fund filter. So I got to that by going to the fund filter and clicking new. So hopefully you can see that now. Anyways, as I've mentioned before, we can go up here, go to the universe and click a fund universe, which I've picked the retail UTNOICs, or we can just pick the regular UTNOICs, which should have around 3,000 funds in them. So again, we can't really go for every single one of these. So we can start adding criteria on top of that. Say you only want ones with 10% bit-to-bit performance, and I only want ones with 3 counts and above. So this one should narrow it down and give me only funds that meet that criteria, which it'll give us in a moment. And while it does that, we can also look at further criteria. Well, as you can see, it all pretty much halved it to 2,413, but we can further narrow it down further by adding more criteria. So we can do that by going to the quick find up here, and we can put in any number of criteria that we want to look at. So whether it's TER, sectors, platform availability, currency. We can also do costs and charges. So you can see it's either on ongoing charges, one-off entry costs, transactional, so on and so forth. But for this, let me say that I want to add it as a platform availability for HABL down to 337. And then we can also add in these ESG criteria. So if you have clients that do not want to be invested in a certain area, such as alcohol, arms, anything like that, tobacco, then you can add those in and say that you only want ones that are excluding, say, animal testing or excluding cannabis. Or we can have, if they will have an SDR label here. So once we're happy with the list, we can then click Show Results, and it will give us the list of those funds. Now, naturally, if you do not do your own type of fund research and you're mainly focusing on MPS universes, you might think that why would I really need a fund filter if I'm only looking at MPS providers? Well, for that, we have another universe here. So if you go all the way to the bottom, we have the UK MPS universe now. So if I do that, it will then, instead of giving me the funds, it will actually give me all the MPS offerings within the MPS directory. So if I click Show Results, as you can see, it gives us all of the various MPS providers and all of their portfolios. So now, similarly, we can use the exact same criteria that we might want for a fund on those MPSs. And we can say we only want ones that have, a specific rating. I also still only want 10% above. I want a 2% yield, not 20, and so on and so forth. Naturally, because the fund filter has a lot of fields for specific for ones, not all fields will work for the MPS, but most of them do, especially the performance as well as investment characteristics at the bottom. So as you can see here, we narrowed it down from 1,500 to just 788, but we can obviously add in further. So let's do 2 columns and above. Now we're down to 38 model portfolios, but actually it wouldn't be 38 providers. So we can look at these and see, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 providers essentially, which is a manageable number for us to go out, reach out to them and ask them for more information. Or what we can do is we can save this, let's call it the MPS filter. And now I'll be going over to the next report that we can utilize for not just the fund filter, but also reporting in general, which is the custom table. Now, the custom table is essentially what it says. It's a customized table that you can use for any number of reporting within FE Analytics. So instead of creating a number of separate different reports, you can just have one that has everything in it that you need to report on. If it were to load, apologies, my internet is a bit slow, but there we go. So now we can add, let's say I want to see what the performance has been like for those MOL portfolios. I also want to know what the charges are. So initial charge, let's see if that will be there. And now, if it's a portfolio, you wouldn't necessarily get the TER or OCF charges, but you would have something called the portfolio expense. And that will just be the generalized charge of the entire portfolio. And then we can also naturally add in further things such as ratios, for the performance periods, ESG attributes, all of that. And as with before, we can narrow it down using the quick find up here. But for now, I can use these. And once it's saved, we can run the report, and it will take the mod portfolios from the first one and run it in a report where you can then narrow it down further. So now you can see here, it saved the report layout, and we have it acting on this filter up here, but we can also have it acting on any other filter that we might have saved previously, or we can have it acting on the current active list. So now we are generating it, and it will take those 100 and something portfolios and put it in just a normal table that we can then further read into and analyze to see which portfolio provider we would be interested in, or if it were a filter, which if it were a fund, which fund we would be interested in to invest into. Sorry, just while this is loading, I'm checking your messages. Can you filter those available in Ireland? Element specific. Yes, so we do have a filter for Irish funds. So while this is loading, I guess I could bring up, here we go. So if I go up here, European funds, here we go, Irish funds. So we do have a subsection of just Irish funds. And you can use the exact same criteria on those Irish funds. And what Irish funds are we in? Um, I want to be able to go through all of the providers and all of the funds right here. So if you like, we can, I'm sure we can, one of my colleagues will note it down, and we'll be able to get in touch, and we'll be able to go through over which Irish funds are available, as well as which providers. We are looking into expanding to our offerings in Ireland in general. So we do already have it, but we'll be getting more in the future. Anyways, here we go. Here's the table. So I took the model portfolio providers, their portfolios, and put it in this table. So you can see here, some of these might run around for 5 years, so it won't give us a 5-year period, and some don't have an initial charge. So we can then compare it further by their by their performances, charges, or anything else. And then we can also rank them in quartiles, or actually any of these other ones. So which ones are the top performers, which ones are bottom performers, which one are the cheapest and most expensive. And if I select a number of them, we'll get to my next report that I wanted to show, which is the fund comparison report. So instead of having to create a report for each fund or multiple MPS in this case. In each one with an individual report, an individual a table or chart. You can just have them running through this custom table first, and then once you click a number of them, you can click the fund comparison, which will bring up this page here. So in this case, we're using it for the MPSs, but in most cases, you can also use it for funds. So as you can see here, it took those 5 portfolios that I've picked. So I should probably actually picked ones that are from different providers, just so we get a few different data sets. So let's do Albemarle, Brooks, LNG, well select. Sorry. Yeah, that's 5. That's 5. So with that one, it does have a limit of 5, just because it gets a bit too crowded after that. But now we'll run the same report and hopefully it'll be a bit more different. So as you can see here, it took those small portfolios and we can now compare them like for like. So we can compare their yield, their launch date, etc., as well as their overall performance over the last 5 years. So on and so forth. You can see here, it breaks it down into its individual components. And then obviously you can then use this to then further allow you to narrow down which model portfolio you might want to be invested in or which fund you want to pick. In this one, as you can see, in some of the fields are a bit empty, but that's mainly because they're also there for the funds. And if we want to, we can then export this to Excel, where it will look something like what I'm about to show you. There we go. So now it will be available in Excel. So we can have both the custom table that I showed you before in an Excel sheet, as well as this portfolio report, fund comparison report in a Excel sheet. So in this, you can then naturally use it internally for any further analysis or reporting. So yeah, that was the fund filter as well as the 2 reports that are associated with it, which, as I mentioned, you can use on anything else, so not just the fund filter, but you can also use it for any funds you have here. Or if you have a portfolio, as I do here, instead of having the left one clicked, you can click the right one and it will take the portfolio and break it down into its individual holdings and do the same reporting on that. So yeah, hope you found that part useful. If you have any questions, do pop them in the chat. Right, now for the next part. So next up, we have another report that, well, you probably would already be familiar with, which is a performance line chart, but something that you might not be familiar with this is that there are a couple features they can add in to just make it that much more useful for your clients. Sorry, Jane said, what is an FE kernel? What is it based on? So the FE kernel is just how we rate funds as well as now MPS providers. We can send our methodology sheet to you later on, which will just go into how it's breakdown and what type of criteria it uses. Please, if anyone else wants to see the same sheet, put your name in the chat and we'll reach out to you when we'll be able to send over the methodology sheet if you like. Obviously, naturally, within FE Analytics, we aren't biased to just our own ratings. So if I go back to the filter, you can use a number of other rating systems as well. There we go. So instead of FE current ratings, we have risk scores, non-sec, Morningstar, RSM, and style research. So if you prefer any of our other of these other providers other than our own in-house ones, you can obviously use that. We are not biased to just having ours available. Anyways, back to where I was before. So as I mentioned, we have the performance line chart, which is probably one of our most used feature. It just takes whatever you whatever you have selected in your active list, puts it on a line chart and gives you the performance. As I'll show you in a second. So as you can see here, we have these number of funds that are already preloaded before, and it just charts their performance. But the way to just make that a bit more personal or a bit more relevant to your clients is if you go into indices, or actually it doesn't have to be just an indice, but for this purpose, I went into the indices and I inserted the UK Consumer Price Index. I have it selected here. And now instead of just running it, I'll go here to relative moving average. Instead of none, I'll have it selected to be relative. And I select the indices that I have inserted here. So as mentioned, I chose the UK Consumer Price Index. You can use any number of other indices. You can use a non-UK indices. I believe we should have some Irish ones as well. Or you can have it based on any number of other factors, such as a number of other portfolio or portfolio fund, sorry. But now, if I run this, instead of just giving me the performance of those 5 funds, it'll give me the performance of those relative to what I've picked, which in this case, the UK price index. So now we can see that compared to our normal chart with no relative, it gives you that same performance, but now relative to the UK price index. So sure, it might look a bit, wow, it goes up and down over time. But what does that actually mean? Well, at 0, we have the UK price index, which essentially you can explain what that is to your clients, and then you can show them that actually over time it went below, but more recently, these ones have beaten the UK price index here. So that's just how you can make it a bit more personal, maybe a bit more relevant for your clients to look at these charts and not just have a bunch of wiggly lines, essentially. And then actually all of these you can then export as well, both as a PDF as well as a image. Yeah. Add advisors fee and platform fees to highlight net outperformance. There is a way you can add in additional charges. So if you build your own portfolios, so there's a couple of things you can do here. If you build your own portfolios, if you go to the portfolio setting, you can add in those charges in the settings page. So if I click new, I'm not sure if everyone can see the chat, by the way, but William here asked if you can add advisors fees as well as platform fees to highlight net outperformance. So advisor fees, you can add them if you create your own portfolios. You can go to the settings, and then you can add in initial charges as well as additional charges on top. Any multi-portfolio provider will already have that built in. But you can add additional charges on top of that by adding, I believe there is a feature somewhere, which unfortunately has slipped my mind. If it comes back to me, I'll show it to you in a second. If it doesn't, I'm sure we can reach out to you and we can share a how-to video or guide as well afterwards. But anyways, so that's one way you can make these a bit more personal. Then another chart I wanted to show you today was also the distribution chart. Sorry, table. Concentration analysis table is what I wanted to show you today. So this one here is also an underutilized report, but what essentially what this allows you to do is to allow you to more diversify your investments or your holdings. So you might have a number of funds from various different providers, which you might think that, oh, initially, well, they're all different providers. Why would they be investing in the same thing? Well, if you run this report, you might see that you have 20 different funds, but they're all invested in the same couple of funds. So you might want to run this report on a number of other ones and pick ones that are invested in other areas. So to allow you to more diversify your holdings. So essentially for this, I've got a number of funds, the same ones I've picked before. I went to table, and then we have the concentration analysis table right there. And as you can see here, it took those 5 funds, and it will just tell you how similar are their top 100, 50, 20, 10 holdings, how similar are they all to each other. So they all kind of share the same top 100 holdings, but they're a bit more different to each other when it comes to the top 1 and top 5% of their holdings. So top 5 holdings. So you can see here, and so you can just use this report to just further diversify some of your holdings or compare and contrast how some of the various funds are different to each other. And again, you can run this as well, not just on the list of funds, but if you have a portfolio, as I do here, we can select the one on the right and then run the same ones. Oh, I actually couldn't. Never mind, ignore me. You can only do this on here, but you can obviously go into the portfolio and then export the holdings into the active list. So yeah, those were most of the charts reports I wanted to show you today. These are some of the more underutilized reports. So if you have any further questions, do please put them into the question box. Uh, yes, thank you, William. Um, so yeah, if you have any further questions, please feel free to say so, to put them in the chat. We do have a few more minutes. But if you do ever want to reach out to us, um, we do have a LinkedIn page. You can connect to me, or as well as you can sign up to our further sessions or connect to us in general through LinkedIn or our support page. As I mentioned, we have a YouTube page. We do upload videos to there regularly, so do please like and subscribe. I also want to say that. And if you have any requests for what any of our future sessions should be, do feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to adjust and change for future sessions based on demand. We're also happy to take any feedback on to our previous sessions, as well as features and um, data within FE Analytics. So if you ever think that there's something missing within FE Analytics, do feel free to reach out. We have our development team that analyze, review our products quite regularly, and they will usually try and allocate resources to improvements. So yeah, I'll give a few more minutes for anyone who has any further questions. Otherwise, do feel free to uh, log off if you need to. And also, um, hope everyone's looking forward to the long bank holiday weekend and hope you all enjoy it. Hopefully, we'll get some nicer weather here as well. A few more minutes. Doesn't look like we have any further questions. So thank you all for joining. Hope you have a nice rest of the week and enjoy your long weekend.